Jeff Kohler, aka Option Addict, from over at www.tradingaddicts.com. I'm sure if you followed along some of the commentary from last week, so far things are setting up as expected. We looked at a lot of individual markets, we looked at ETFs, looked at a lot of financial instruments that have all been coiled up pretty tightly. The S&P looked something like this. Broke away from that range with a good solid close above that 50-day moving average on Thursday. Good follow through up on Friday, and the S&P, as of the close, gets taken out just slightly above the 1100 mark. That's also coincidental to some of the lows we've seen in the VIX here as of late. So, I wouldn't exactly say that we're completely out of the woods here, but so far, it looks like a new trend type move is starting to emerge from this consolidation range. And we've been talking about watching copper as kind of that leading indicator to set up this move, which, copper broke through its range going back to Wednesday. So as always, it was a leading indication for equities to move lower. And with that last big pullback we saw on Wednesday in equities, copper prices still stayed up. They still stayed outside of their range, and that's what inevitably led to the breakout and gave some pretty good opportunities to load up and get long before the big giant move that we saw in equities on Thursday and the follow through on Friday. So it was a tremendous week last week. Great moves that we caught. But how do we set things up this week? Well, we come in at a kind of a psychological level here in the indices, and we also come into trading tomorrow morning with short term with an overbought McClellan. The reading that you can see here on my little McClellan oscillator is that goes back to the that little top we saw back kind of mid-June or so, where we got a really big rip off the lows, pushed us into overbought territory. Well, we're up there right now. So what we could see happen is that prices, I'll go back over to the S&Ps, but to see prices maybe pull back and maybe test that 50-day moving average as support, I would imagine that's what sets up. But what we'll probably see here is I don't think that's a move that you necessarily want to get just net short into. I think you can sell some things up here in case we do see a pullback, just because that's the law of overbought status suggests that anytime we get a reading this high, it usually makes sense to give that a try. But I think the downside's pretty limited from here, the way things are setting up. And we've got a trend here of higher lows, so continue to keep that in mind as you go forward. And that pullback, like I said, shouldn't be too much steeper than I'd say about 1095, give or take from where we sit right here. So if we do see a pullback, I think it'll be minimal, but I think those will be dip buying opportunities heading into the week. Looking across equities, they look good. Looking at futures overnight, they're pretty well flat. Copper stayed up. So these are all things we want to watch to continue off into next week. So some things that I'm watching. I'll start with the price patterns first this week, because we were able at the end of last week to catch big moves in stocks like Salesforce.com. We caught a big move in that. Stocks like Baidu that are breaking out. We were able to get into that as well. But what I'm looking for are these consolidation ranges in stocks that have been able to stay up near their highs. So stock like OVTI, I think you want to keep an eye on. As a disclaimer, got long that into Friday, but the way stocks like CRUS, which you currently have a position in, have broken out, I'm looking for those that have similar setups to be the next round of breakouts. So OVTI would be one. Cognizant, which is just now starting to break out. Again, I've got a position here just as a disclaimer, but take a look at that. Skyworks. SWKS, don't have a position here, but into weakness, if you get a pullback, these kind of consolidation patterns like this, I think is where you want to be. Those that are getting close would be a Cavium Networks, CAVM, I guess right about there. That's pretty close to a new 52-week high, volumes there. So look for some continuation to the upside. ATSG, I like this one just based on the way that it's been coiled up here, up near its highs for quite a good period of time. Looks to just now be breaking outside of that range. Analog Devices. This is one that you'd have to go back on a one-year chart to see how long this thing's been coiling up, but it's there right now as well. Rubicon, RBCN. I like the way this thing's coiled up here near the highs. This is a stock that likes to break away from these ranges and get moving pretty quickly. Couple others, NLST, which I've been watching. Could also throw CIGX into that as well. Network Engines, NENG. You can see this guy's coiled up here a little bit. Pretty good move, pretty good close on Friday. There we go. Akamai, probably one of my favorites right here. That's a pretty good break on Friday out of a nice, good consolidation range, which is a continuation pattern that points to higher prices. Anything else? I'm hoping financials get moving here pretty soon because I'd like to get in on this AIG, which, if you look back over the last year, has been doing the same thing, coiled up pretty tightly. So there's just a bunch of individual price patterns I'm looking for, looking to see if the market does want to continue higher. I think those are the names you want to look for to see fresh highs. But I've also got a list of rips to sell and dips to buy, so take a look at these as well. And with that, guys, I'll go ahead and call it. Like I said, let China and copper be your guide here as they continue to pave the way for higher equity prices. Currency markets are still in trend mode, so there's been some really good opportunities there on the day trading front. And speaking of day trading, of course, if you want to get in on some of our algorithmic trading, we are hosting bell-to-bell webinars Monday through Friday. So if you'd like to give that a try, look us up. 5 days, $5. If we can't make you money within those 5 days, then we'll give you that money on back. So come give me a shout over at www.tradingaddicts.com. Again, this has been the Option Addict. That's been my watch list. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.